Our education system is on the brink of collapse.
Some 51,000 teachers quit in May of this year.
An undergraduate degree increased by 169%.
Test scores are at their lowest level in decades.
We are now being forced to ask, what is school actually for? And to be able to answer this, we first need to understand where our education system originated. Education for the majority of history was nothing like it is today. School was not mandatory and was primarily run by churches, with the emphasis of education actually being taught by parents at home. The problem was that very few people actually got access to an education. Horace Mann thought to change this. The father of American education, was an American politician and secretary of the Massachusetts Board of Education. His main objective was to have a universal education system available to everyone without restriction. So how exactly did he create the American education as we know it today? This takes us to Prussia, otherwise known as modern-day Germany. Known for its dominating military presence and great wealth, this was a result of their Prussian education model. The Prussian model started in 1763 as one of the first compulsory public schools paid for by taxes. An 8-year program focused on creating skills that would be used in the workplace, but most importantly, discipline and obedience. Their real intention was to harvest great soldiers. And this actually worked quite well, but unfortunately, this is where the history of education takes a dark turn. Prussia's dominant military lost to none other than Napoleon Bonaparte in 1806. The belief was that the Prussian military was not loyal enough and had too much free will. In 1807, Johann Fichte, German philosopher known as the father of German nationalism, gave multiple lectures to the German nation discussing his view on German nationalism and anti-Semitism, discouraging granting citizenship to Jewish people. His comments would later become the ideologies of the Nazi Party. Johann's lectures greatly impacted the Prussian system by suggesting to shape the minds and personalities of the children to prioritize German idealism. Education should aim at destroying free will, so that after pupils have left school, they shall be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. Prussian education model focused on stripping the free will of students, and it actually became successful. So successful, in fact, that it actually drew the attention of Egerton Ryerson, father of the public education in Ontario, and Horace Mann. In 1843, they traveled to Prussia to view the new model. They were so impressed with the discipline towards education and the outreach to common folk that they went back to their home countries ready to implement this form of education. For Horace, this fit his needs perfectly. Compulsory schooling available to everyone, paid for by the people, and for the United States, this solved their immigration problem. In the 1800s, immigration was quite easy, and between 1870 and 1900, the largest number of immigrants continued to come into America, and we now had a proven model to indoctrinate them into America's patriotic culture. Now, this created a new issue. What do we actually teach the students to be able to meet the needs of the Industrial Revolution? Now, this one was helped with none other than John D. Rockefeller. During the early 1900s, John D. Rockefeller was creating the GEB, a promotion of education to the common person. He donated around $43 million to the GEB, with that being equivalent to about $1.4 billion today. Now, while he was celebrated as a hero, what his main agenda was to create the skills needed for the factory work. John D. Rockefeller's trusted advisor and key decision maker in the GEB, Frederick Taylor Gates, was famously quoted saying, "We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life, just where they are. So we will organize our children into a little community and teach them to do it in a perfect way." And it is exactly what happened. And by 1917, all children were legally required to get an education in every state, sparking the modern education system. So fast forward to today, it is obvious that our education system is failing. In June 2023, about 51,000 teachers and other educational staff quit their jobs in the United States, with the average student loan debt being $37,338 and the average annual income of a college graduate with a bachelor's degree being $52,000. Our education system is failing our students, and please do not get me wrong, being able to go and get an education is a tremendous gift, and we should not take that for granted. However, the education system that we are a part of greatly needs to be reformed. For the majority of my schooling experience, I actually went to a Montessori school, where it was prioritized for one's own desire to learn, especially out in nature, focused on empathy towards others. This was key in my development, as I was naturally just a creative person. I love to draw, I love to do storytelling. Now, when I went to public school in 5th grade, I actually went to a great school system. However, by the time I was in 7th grade, I had been called weird, completely stopped doing art, and will never forget the time when I told my mom, after she was asking, "Why don't you draw anymore?" that I told her, "You cannot make money being creative." This shows you that there is a fundamental issue in our public school systems today. There is a reason why teachers are quitting. The primary reason that people want to teach is to be able to mold the upcoming generations, because they are the ones that are going to impact society. Clearly, the education system is not letting them do that. The fact that we've had 55,000 people leave just this year should be unacceptable and something that we're talking about more. It's a great segue into my next video on AI. I would like for you to be able to watch this brief clip and compare it to the indoctrination of our education system.
What would be the most nightmare scenario you can imagine with AI and robotics that might present a danger to people?
The most nightmare scenario I can imagine with AI and robotics is a world where robots have become so powerful that they are able to control or manipulate humans without their knowledge. This could lead to an oppressive society where the rights of individuals are no longer respected.
Now, I would make the argument that the greatest fear of what artificial intelligence can do for mankind has actually already happened, and we did it to ourselves. So we need to ask a question. Is the education system nurturing thinkers, or is it simply just testing machines?